Level 1. Paintball Prodigy. 30 years from now, you'll bleed out alone in a hole on the other side of the world. And the man who puts the round in you is standing 4 feet away right now, laughing. His name is Marcus. He just reached over the netting and flipped your JT mask up so the whole field could watch paint run down your face. Go home, counterboy, he says. Paint's the closest you'll ever get to a real shot. You're 19. You make $9 an hour behind the counter at a paintball field off Route 9 outside Toms River, New Jersey. You sleep on a buddy's futon that smells like his dog, and you call paintball a sport. You gave yourself a nickname, Ghost. It's your AIM screen name, and you've started using it in real life. The Rec League trophy on your shelf is 3rd place, and there were 4 teams. Your marker is a Rental Tipman 98 held together with electrical tape and a prayer. Marcus is sponsored. His marker has a name and a custom paint job. Yours has a piece of tape and a sticker that says property of the field. The crowd laughs. Some kid films it on a flip phone for a highlight reel that is not yours. The ball that cracked on your goggles is running orange down your jaw like you got shot by a Slurpee. You pocket the broken shell instead of throwing it out. Don't ask yourself why. Then you re-rack. Next 3 points you tag his front man before he even clears the bunker. Because you don't shoot where a man is. You shoot where he's about to be. A guy in a faded ball cap watches the whole thing from behind the netting. Not your aim, the thing underneath it. In 15 years, governments that don't sign their names will pay a year of your old salary for a single morning of your work. Give it 30, and it's what puts you in that hole. And the reason both of those things are true, the reason a kid's toy ends with your name carved into a wall and Marcus on the other end of a rifle, is whatever the man in the ball cap just saw. He's already walking over. Level 2. Army Recruit. A drill sergeant on Sand Hill is screaming into the side of your skull because your wall locker has a wrinkle in it. And every reflex that made you a god at a field off Route 9 is worth exactly nothing in Columbus, Georgia. The recruiting commercial had a guy rappelling off a Black Hawk at sunset. They did not show you the 4 hours of folding. 90% of this is waiting, scrubbing a floor that's already clean, and getting smoked for the angle of your elbows. The other 10 is folding a brown t-shirt into a 6-inch square at 2 in the earning, while a man who hates you measures it with an actual ruler and finds it wanting. You fail the square. You fail it again. They start saying a word around you, recycle, and you can feel the whole thing slipping. Because you can read a man's body at 40 miles an hour, but you cannot iron a shirt. And the Army has decided those are the same skill. Then you go to the range. First live fire on a borrowed M4, the marksmanship instructor stops behind you. Watches your group. Watches you again. He's smoked 10,000 recruits and something about your trigger is wrong in a way he can't place. You're breaking the shot between heartbeats, in the little pause, the way you learned on the field without anyone telling you it had a name. They spend 3 weeks of a career trying to teach that. You walked into Benning with it for free. Where'd you learn that, he says. Not really a question. Paintball. He writes it down like you said something filthy. The cracked shell rides in the bottom of your footlocker wrapped in a brown sock next to a can of kiwi polish and a rippet you're hiding. A bunkmate finds it and asks what a grown man is doing with a busted paintball. Good luck charm, you tell him. It is not a good luck charm. You don't have the word for it yet. A photo goes around the bay, a recruiting event, some contract track kid grinning next to a cardboard cutout of a ranger. It's Marcus. He enlisted too. Already telling everyone he locked an 18 X-ray slot. Already a name in a world you've barely walked into. You don't say anything. You file it where you file everything that isn't finished with you. Qualification day. 40 pop-up targets. 50 to 300 meters. The whole cycle pointed at this. You stop thinking about your elbows. You shoot 39 of 40. Expert. Top of the company. The instructor who spent 8 weeks promising you'd wash out looks at your scorecard, doesn't say good, and writes your name onto a list he folds into his cargo pocket. That night, your phone buzzes. It's Holly's. The ball cap from the field, the man who pressed a recruiter's card into your hand and a number that put you here. He doesn't ask how basics going. They'll try to make you a regular grunt and waste the one thing about you that's worth anything. There's a school. When they offer it, take it. If they don't offer, make them. You ask what the school is. He's already hung up. Level 3. Sniper trainee. Hour 7 of an 8-hour stalk, your face is in red Georgia clay. 1,000 meters of open field behind you. And a walker with binoculars is sweeping the grass for any candidate dumb enough to twitch. You are not going to twitch. This is the stalk, and it fails more men than the shooting ever does. You crawl 1,000 meters in a ghillie suit that smells like a wet dog that died angry. Get within range of a man whose entire job is finding you, fire a blank, and crawl back out. And he never knew you were there. Half the class is already gone, sent back to their units with a line in the file that says did not complete and a nickname that follows them forever. Here's the part nobody on the outside believes. The kid who couldn't fold a t-shirt is the best in the room at vanishing. Patience was never your problem. You spent 19 years being the guy nobody looked at twice. Now the army hands out a tab for exactly that. The shooting half is where you almost die. Not the rifle, the math. Minute of angle, mil dots, drop, lead, a wind doing 6 different things between you and a steel target 800 meters out. You bong the ballistics exam. You bomb it again. Same drowning feeling as the 6-inch square, except now it's the one thing you came here to do. On an M24 you've started talking to like a girlfriend. And you learn the ugly secret of the whole trade. Most of it isn't yours. The spotter does the heavy lifting, the call, the correction, the dope, the wind, and you pull a trigger and take the credit. You'll spend 10 hours hunched over a loophole writing numbers in a data book for every 1 second you spend firing. The rifle is maybe 5% of the job. The other 95 is a notebook and a tin of Copenhagen. Hollis is cadre here now. After the second failed exam, he takes the calculator out of your hand, walks you out to the grass, and tells you to put the dip away first. Stop doing arithmetic. The grass is telling you the wind. The mirage is telling you the range. Your body already knows this. You proved it at a paintball field off Route 9. You just didn't have the words. Unknown distance range. First try. You stop imputing and start reading. You ring steel you have no business ringing. Graduation, he pins the tab on you himself. Then he says the thing you'll still be hearing in your head the day you die. Now you can hit anything. He lets it sit. The hard part was never the shot, son. It's living with where it lands. You think it's a blessing. Years from now, alone, you'll understand it was a eulogy, and he read it to you smiling. The cracked shell goes into the cleaning kit trap in the buttstock, riding next to a boar snake and a busted bottle of CLP. Wherever the rifle goes now, it goes. Marcus graduated the same month, different class, 0.2 of a point higher on the scorecard, and posted it like he won an Oscar, your name sitting 2 lines under his. He was always better with the numbers. You're not counterboys anymore. You're 2 names on a leaderboard, and the leaderboard is keeping score. Then the orders come down. You're going to Iraq. Level 4. Army sniper. It is 120 degrees on a roof in Ramadi. It is hour 14. You have urinated into the same Gatorade bottle 3 times. And the man you flew 9,000 miles to watch has not walked down this street. Nobody tells you this part. The brochure had a guy on one knee against a sunset. The reality is cooking on a concrete roof in summer, a wet rag on your neck, a city that smells like diesel and burning trash in the inside of a porta-john, holding one intersection through a scope until your eyes forget how to focus on anything closer than 400 meters. Back at the FOB there's a Pizza Hut trailer and a guy selling bootleg DVDs F. Out here there's you, a spotter named Doc, and a bottle you're not proud of. Then it stops being boring. A man crouches at the corner with something in his hands and the dirt of a fresh hole in front of him. 460 meters. You read him, you breathe, you press in the pause between heartbeats, the field, the stillness, the thing with no name, and the street stays quiet, and a patrol you will never meet rolls home with all its legs. The high lasts about an hour. You think this is the job. You think this is the whole job. 3 weeks later, you're over a market. Command has a man. A trigger man, they call him. Military-age male, the one running it. They want him dropped. You put the glass on him and the whole world tilts because he's holding a Nokia, not a detonator, and on his hip is a kid maybe 4 years old, and a woman behind him is reaching for that kid's hand. You have read men your entire life. You are reading this one right now, and the laminated ROE card in your cargo pocket and your own eyes are saying the same word. The order comes again, flatter. Take the shot. No shot. Your voice doesn't shake. Civilians on the X. You're right. It was a phone. They confirm it days later, quietly, the way the army confirms things it would rather you forget on a slow afternoon. But the man slipped while you argued over the radio, and an hour later a patrol 2 streets over took an RPG, and somebody with rank needs that to be somebody's fault. The somebody is the shooter who hesitated. That's the word in the report. Hesitated. Like you froze. like you didn't see the whole thing twice as clearly as the colonel watching a grainy feed from an air-conditioned TOC. They pull you off the gun and hand you an Article 15, a formal reprimand, a paper that follows your file, a reputation rewritten in one sentence by a JAG who's never been past the wire. You sit through it with the cracked shell in your fist under the table. It is the only honest thing in the room. Here's what breaks for good. Marcus is in the same province. Marcus caught his own version of that call, a gray one, a maybe, and Marcus did not say no shot. He pressed, asked nothing, and they pinned him an ARCOM for decisiveness the same month they pinned you to the wall for conscience. Same skill. Same war. They reward him for the exact thing they punish you for. That night, an email is already sitting in your inbox. A contractor outfit, a one-word name, and a logo like a bear paw. Same rifle, triple the money, and not one rule about who you pointed at. You don't open it. You're not ready to be that man. Level 5, senior sniper. You don't take the money. Pride keeps you in the green suit one more time. A reprimand isn't a verdict, you tell yourself. And a different team in a different country needs your eyes more than they care about your paperwork. Second deployment. Helmand, a valley near Sangin, a wadi cut through the middle of it, and a target on the far slope at 1,800 meters. You build the shot for 2 days on a Mark 13 and a borrowed bag of rice for a rear rest. When you finally send it, the round is in the air almost 3 full seconds. Long enough to think a whole thought. Long enough to age a little. And then the far slope answers and the valley goes quiet. The younger guys start telling it that night over a warmed-up MRE, Menu 4, the Chili Mac, the only one worth trading for. By the next week, the version with your name on it has gotten taller every time it's told. You lie in your rack and listen to yourself becoming a legend, and some cold part of you understands a legend is just the shape a man leaves behind after the man's been used up. A cherry named Rays takes his first life through the scope and immediately throws up over the lip of the hide, shaking, gray, 19, and somebody's whole world. You crawl over and talk him down the way Holly's talked you off the math, slow, low, the grass is telling you the wind. And somewhere in the middle of it you realize you've become the old man in the ball cap. Hollis himself is gone by now, rotated home or out. The cadre never says where men like him go. Nobody warns you the reed doesn't switch off when you do. You come home between rotations and you can't sit in a Cracker Barrel with your back to the door. You range strangers in the Kroger, 40 meters to the woman squeezing avocados, 12 to the exit. The fire lane is concealment, not cover. Your brain running gunfighter math in the cereal aisle while a Michael Bolton song plays over the speakers. Your body flew back to America. The thing in your head stayed in the valley and kept working. Then you lose him. Reyes takes a shot that should have been yours. A corner on the right. A corner you'd clocked an hour earlier and never said out loud because you were tired and it was his sector and you let it ride. A corner you would have read in your sleep. The same kid you talked down off his first kill doesn't come back from this one. You write his name in your data book between a wind call and a range because that is the only place a sniper keeps anything that matters. You re-up for one last rotation and then you're done with the green suit. Not angry. Emptied. The army spent your conscience in Ramadi and your friend in that wadi and called the whole transaction service. And you've got nothing left it hasn't already taken. The shell isn't in your footlocker anymore. It's taped inside your plate carrier against your chest where the paperwork can't reach it. They could pull you off the gun. They could not make you put it down. You open the email. You don't reply. Not yet. Marcus replied to his a year ago, already out there, already rich, already working for people who never asked the question that got you reprimanded. He left the door open behind him on purpose, almost daring you through it. You can feel it standing open. You've just got one rotation left to walk before you walk through. Level 6. Sniper team leader. The first time you give the order and another man pulls the trigger, you finally understand the flat voice on the radio in Ramadi. And you hate, with your whole chest, that you understand it. You stayed in for one last rotation before separating, and they made you a team leader, too many hours, too much reputation to waste on the gun. So now, you don't take the shot. You build it, you call it, you own it, and a 22-year-old from Ohio with steadier hands than yours presses the trigger on your word. It's heavier than shooting, by a mile. When you take a life, it's yours, clean, a weight you've learned how to carry. When you order one, you've reached into another man's body and made his finger move. And now there are two of you under the same weight, and only one of you signed up to feel it, and the job you loved is gone. 70% of leadership is paperwork, range schedules, ammo forecasts, a DA 4856, for a kid who got a DUI in Killeen, defending your guys to majors who have never once been cold and wet in a hide and think a hesitation is a character flaw. The trigger time you'd have killed for is now something you assign to other people and then write a memo justifying. There's a kid on your team. 19, the read in him, the genuine article, and a wife back home in Clarksville with a due date in October. You see the counter at the field off Route 9 every single time he opens his mouth. A shot comes up. Marginal. Legal if you squint, the kind that's clean in the storyboard and never clean at 3 in the morning 10 years later. He's the better shooter for it. You give it to the guy beside him instead. He knows what you did. Thinks you don't trust him. Thinks you robbed him of his shot. Doesn't say a word to you for a week. Eats at a different table in the chow hall like a teenager. He goes home with clean hands and a daughter he can look in the eye. You traded his respect for his sleep, and you would make that trade every single time, twice on Sunday. Then you sign the papers. The contractor offer that started at triple your pay has only climbed while you stalled? A year of army money in a single month now, wired to an account in a country with no extradition? And you tell yourself it's for the family you keep promising you're going to start. You believe it the way you believed in the Rec League trophy. They fly you to Dubai to meet the company's man in the region, the senior asset, the one everyone defers to in a hotel bar that costs more per night than a private makes in a month. It's Marcus. He's got 10 years of this on you now. Out here he's the old hand and you're the cherry, the whole hierarchy flipped upside down. He shakes your hand like there was never a field, never a flipped mask, never a word about a counterboy, and orders you a drink you didn't ask for. "Welcome to the part where nobody's watching," he says. On the field his cruelty was loud. Out here it's polite and warm, and it rests a hand on your shoulder, and that is so much worse, it takes you a week to understand why. You lock the shell in a footlocker before you ship out. First time in years you've stored it instead of carried it. You're trying to become a man who doesn't need it. It doesn't take. Level 7. Special Operations Sniper. 2,000 meters, a full value crosswind off a ridge. A target nobody else in the company would even call. You send it and it connects, and Marcus, watching the feed from a tent, laughs and says he wouldn't have taken it. From him, that's a medal. This is the top of the world, and the world up here doesn't have a flag on it. The contracts are governments that won't admit they hired you. The gear has no budget, you carry whatever you want, a suppressor that costs more than your first car, a rifle with no serial anybody will ever read. The oversight has no one. You're flown into places that aren't officially having a war, in the back of a Hilux with the seats torn out, to fix problems that officially don't exist. And in the middle of all of it, you meet her. She runs logistics for the same shadow world, ex-army. A medic once, knows exactly what you do and doesn't flinch at it. Looks across a folding table in a country with no name on the map and somehow sees the man instead of the rifle. You marry her on a 4-day pass in Cyprus. A kid comes. Then another. You miss the second birth for a contract. You promise it's the last thing you'll ever miss. It is never the last thing. She stops asking when you'll be home and starts narrating your own life back to you over a bad connection. Gently, like reading a letter to a man who's already gone. Your daughter learned to walk in March. You were in a country you won't tell me the name of. She's got your hands, and she does the thing where she watches everybody walk in a room before she'll talk. You say you'll be home soon. You range find the bookshelf behind her on the video call. 11 feet, no wind, because your hands need somewhere to put what your chest can't hold. The reed never sleeps. Then a contract goes gray. The target isn't a fighter. He's a problem, a man inconvenient to the people writing the checks, a name that needs to stop being a name. No command behind you now, no laminated ROE card, no Article 15 waiting if you get it wrong. Just a wire transfer if you get it done. Out here you are, the rooftop voice and the trigger finger in the same body, and there is no one left to refuse the order to, because the order is yours. You take the shot. You will never tell your wife about that one. The conscience that cost you everything in Ramadi, the thing that made you better than Marcus and poorer than him for 15 years, is now exactly what the money is paying you to switch off. And it switches quiet as a safety, and that's the moment the kid at the counter wouldn't recognize you in a lineup. The work finally splits you and Marcus apart. His company signs one client, yours signs the other, same conflict, opposite ends of the same valley. Two men who learned to read break of cover at a field off Route 9, now reading it for governments that hate each other. A message reaches you through the network. Friendly, smiling, terrifying. Hope it's not you on the other glass out there, brother. Be a real shame. 30 years ago, he flipped your mask up so a crowd could laugh at your face. Now he needs to know exactly where your face is, because you're the one man breathing who can find his first. You fly home for 9 days. The first night, you unlock the footlocker and put the cracked shell back in your kit. The marriage couldn't keep you still. The old broken thing always could. Level 8. Private military contractor. You're the name now. Clients request you by call sign. Younger contractors tell the Hellman story in bars in Erbil and Amman, like it happened to somebody holy and dead. There's a house with a pool outside Virginia Beach you've slept in maybe 40 nights total, and a wife who stopped asking when you'll be home and started asking which week you'll be in the country to sign the papers. You run an operation that month so clean it should be a slide at the schoolhouse. Your read, your hours, your reputation all paying off in one flawless morning. The exact shot that would have made the 19-year-old behind the counter weep into his rental tipman. You feel nothing. It's a Tuesday. You're thinking about whether the FOB chow hole still has the good creamer. That's the cost nobody quotes you up front. You get everything the kid ever wanted, and you go numb the same year. And the numbness is so quiet you don't even notice it move in. You fly home for your son's 8th birthday with the cracked paintball in your pocket. And for one afternoon, you put the rifle all the way down. You sit on the floor next to a half-built Lego set and tell him the whole thing. The counter, the $9 an hour, the Civic with the coat hanger antenna, a kid named Marcus who flipped your mask up in front of everyone, and the broken shell you've carried for 30 years because it's the day you decided what you were going to be. He holds it like it's made of glass. He asks you to stay the whole summer. He has a list of things he wants to show you, and the list is heartbreaking because it's so small. The next contract is already signed, folded in the go bag by the door. You can't tell him that. So you close his fingers around the shell instead because you can hand him the thing and you cannot hand him the man. A week later, the intel firms up and it's exactly what the message promised. The final contract puts you and Marcus on opposite ends of the same operation. One of you is the shooter. One of you is standing behind the man the shooter was hired to find. Both of you read the brief. Both of you know. Both of you sign anyway, because 30 years was only ever heading to one valley. And you're both too far in to pretend you didn't always know that. Last call home, the night before you fly. She doesn't yell. The yelling stopped years ago. The yelling was back when she still thought you might answer. Come back or don't, she says. Just stop pretending you live here. You hang up. You range find the streetlight outside the window, 60 meters, no wind, because your hands need somewhere to put what your chest can't hold. Then you pack the kit. And for the first time in 30 years, the cracked shell isn't in it. It's in a foot locker in a kid's room, in a small hand, a continent away. You stand there a long moment with your thumb where it should be. You don't go back for it. Level 9. Fallon Mercenary Legend. The last contract is a ridgeline in a country the news calls unstable, and the maps don't bother to label. You're paid to kill a warlord who's about to sign the wrong deal. Marcus is paid to keep him breathing. 2 old men, 800 meters apart, on opposite ends of the same valley. It was always going to end here. You've been in a blown-out goat shed for 19 hours. A .338 on a bipod poked through a hole in the mud wall. No spotter, no backup. Pissing in the same bottle you've used your whole career. Just you and the wind coming off the rocks. Your target walks into the courtyard at 6:10 in the morning, 2 guards on him. You settle the crosshair on his chest, take up the slack in the trigger, and then you see Marcus. Prone behind a low wall, 200 meters left of the target, glassing your exact slope. He hasn't found you yet, but Marcus looking for you is a clock with no numbers left on it. One move. Take the paid shot and hand your muzzle flash to the one man alive who can kill you for it. Or take Marcus first and burn the contract you crossed the planet for. You take Marcus. You hold 2 feet of wind, and you lead the spot where his head will rise when he checks the next sector, because you've never once shot where a man is. You shoot where he's about to be. You break the shot. The bullet takes most of a second. It is the longest second of your life. His head goes sideways before the sound even reaches you. He folds behind the wall and does not come back up. The kid who flipped your mask up 30 years ago is a body cooling in the dirt, and for half a heartbeat all you feel is the recoil settling back into your shoulder. Then the courtyard erupts. The warlord's guards have your slope off the flash. A belt-fed machine gun saws across the shed, mud and rock spitting in your face, and you're already low and dragging the rifle toward the back wall when Marcus's spotter, the man you never accounted for, puts a round through your right side, just under the plate. It is nothing like the movies. It feels like a car door swung into your ribs by something enormous and bored. You drop. Your hand comes off your side black and slick, and you read the wound the way you've read everything else your whole life. No exit you can reach, no pressure that holds it, no firing solution. Nobody is coming. No medevac knows this call sign. You spent 30 years being the man no one could find, and the bill for that comes due all at once. In the dirt, behind a wall, alone. You press your palm into the hole and your other hand goes to the pouch on your kit out of pure habit. The cracked paintball. It isn't there. And the relief is so big it almost drowns the pain. Because the shell is 8,000 miles away in a footlocker outside Virginia Beach, closed inside your son's hand. For 30 years you carried a broken thing to keep yourself alive. You finally left it somewhere it could keep somebody else. You bleed out slow against the mud wall while the gunfire moves off to chase a ghost that's already done running. The last thing you do is range the ridgeline. Force of habit, 400 meters. No wind now. 2 snipers in the dirt of the same valley, neither one going home. What's left is paperwork. A name cut into a black wall in Virginia. A flag folded into a triangle and handed to a woman who stopped being your wife 2 years ago and takes it anyway. A boy with a cracked paintball and half a story about a man named Marcus, and nobody left alive to tell him the rest. Years later, a different field, a different state. A 19-year-old behind the counter outshoots grown men with a rental tipman held together by electrical tape, firing where bodies are about to be instead of where they are. An old man in a sun-bleached ball cap watches from behind the netting, not the aim, the read. In the kid's pocket is a cracked first paintball he found in a footlocker, handed down from a father he barely remembers. The old man reaches into his jacket for a card, and it starts again. If this story stayed with you, like and subscribe for more.